Done, one more microphone. All the mics are out?
Oh, we can move David's name.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we could have.
Thank you.
Good.
I think so.
You got your own. Here.
You need, who needs this?
Okay, everybody, we all set? Now I call to order the August 25th meeting of LWPA Budget Finance Committee. And nice to see a full house here. So many members. So we haven't always had that luxury. Draft agenda. Do I have a motion to approve it? We approve of that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I think that's unanimous. Draft minutes, you all had a opportunity to look at those. Do we have any, do I have a motion to approve those? Second, anyone?
Second.
All in favor of approval? Or I should ask for comments on this instead of that. Any corrections? If not, all in favor of approval? Looks unanimous. Resident comments. Happy to hear any residents or comments on our agenda, any items on our agenda. Please come forward and introduce yourselves. Glad to listen to you. Now I'll see an overwhelming charge to the podium. So, okay, here we are. Yep.
It should be on. Just click on.
My name is Ruth Jacoby and I live in Riverbend. Since we are still in the process of budget, I'm just really upset about the lack of concern for those of us who ride the bus. I'd like to know if you know the difference between the financial difference between a 3-day bus and a 4-day bus. And if you take that difference and you divide it by 12 months, and you divide it by the number of units that we have, you're looking at a really, really small amount. $2 and something a month. Is it worth giving up the bus for 1 day to save $2? That makes absolutely no sense to me. I hope that you will reconsider. Another thing to consider is the number of holidays we have when a bus doesn't run. Sometimes a 2-day holiday, sometimes a 1-day holiday. So you're taking the bus down to 2 days or 1 day. We also have had weather conditions where the bus didn't run because of bad weather. You're really putting our residents in jeopardy. This bus service is vital. There's doctor's appointments for a plethora of other things. I need new towels. I want to see and feel the towels. I want to go to the store and check the price. Some things I'm happy with buying online. I love Amazon. Someone last week suggested that maybe you should try Amazon. When that Amazon bus comes here, where does she think it's going? I was really disappointed in her comments. So anyway, bottom line, please reconsider this bus situation. Figure out how much are we saving by 1 day? What is the actual cost? Is it worth $2? Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to just point out, first of all, that this committee does not make decisions on this, so we make recommendations to the board. who then make the decision. And our recommendation to the board actually was to continue toward that schedule. The board decided not to take that recommendation. And okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a loud voice, I don't have to go to the mic.
It would be better if people,
I acknowledge that. My name is Marcia Balaba, I also live in Riverbank. I am very, very upset about the bus situation. In the 6 years that I'm living here, more and more people are taking the bus. There's quite a bit of people. I go in the afternoon, there's at least 12, 13, 14 people. You know, it's like when you have children, do you need it or do you want it? We need the bus to stay for 4 days. Doctor's appointments are very hard to get. And if they say to Monday, we gotta be there on a Monday. And I just think that it's a necessity. I understand how you feel, and I know about money and everything. But you know what? Eliminate something that we don't want, or work it out that it could work for us. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, we will move along. My comments, and actually, since we're brought up the bus issue, and I have a suggestion or request to, and since we're going to go into a 3-day schedule on October, I think that'd be an opportune time to begin, or at least plan to begin, better data collection on usage of the bus. It's been I think, a discussion over the past few months over this. It's been a real weakness in our ability to really analyze the situation properly. And I think it'd be a good thing. Good to go with that. That's just my personal observation. I don't know if anyone else on the committee would like to add to that. You're welcome.
Thank you, Curry. Okay. Aboard then
Then we get the data on the ridership. And I think going forward, it would be helpful in making budgeting decisions, knowing how many people we need to hear from the users and the riders. But I think a broader report would be very beneficial to everyone.
Okay. Well, no one else will say. No.
I just have a question. So when we use the fob, is that tracked anywhere? Like you, to enter the gym, you need a fob. To enter the clubhouse, you need a fob. You don't need a fob for the pool, but I think, well, I know, because I swimmer sign in, but I'm not sure if we use that data thing. How expensive would it be to put a fob on the bus?
Pretty expensive.
You need a clipboard and a pen. Whoever gets on the bus signs the clipboard. Oh, that's a good idea. Like the pool. Yeah.
They already do keep track of that. I don't know that they're keeping track of names though.
Not named, no, but we receive reports from Chariots for Hire of how many people ride the bus on which particular days and over a course of a month, the average amount. It's about 18 residents.
Well, it's a suggestion, I think it'd be a good idea to take a closer look at. There it is. All right, let's move on, because the issue is actually closed now, so. Treasurer's report, we don't have a treasurer here. I have nothing to say about that.
He's on vacation. No, I don't have any comments. His report's in the packet. I apologize for the packet not being numbered, it's my oversight.
Thanks for that, on the management update.
My updates are also in the packet after the treasurer's report. I just reported that, the board had approved the 48-month natural gas supply agreement with WGL Energy Services at their August meeting. So the contract has been signed. We locked in at a rate of 0.5780 per therm, and that new rate will take effect on December 1st, 2026 through November 30, 2030. And also reported that the board approved revised policy number 20, the reserves for capital components policy resolution. And they concurred with this recommendation of this committee with regards to approval of that, except removing section F2 because it was not applicable or consistent with our reserve funding practices. So that was approved. The other thing they approved was the reserve study at the recommendation of the reserve study committee's recommendation, assuming a 3.5% assumed investment return and a 3% minimum threshold. And that actually results in an 8.2 increase rather than the 8.6 increase that was in the last draft that the reserve study committee saw. So that 8.2 increase in contributions has been plugged into the draft's budget for next year. And that's all I have for updates.
Questions for Audra?
And just, just one question, like, when we use with, of course, we have the rules for the side between reserve and also the cash that we use. However, the reserve seems like there's a more expensive cash because they have a better interest on investment than the other cash, correct? Is there any study of which one, despite of like when you use the reserve, is a study like how much is the cost of using reserve versus the cash on hand, or budget money?
I'm not really sure I'm understanding the question.
Okay. When you have like a cash that's being invested right now, or the budget money that we're kind of like the reserve or something like that, versus the reserve money got better return on market. Is that correct, my assumption?
Well,
My assumption.
the budget, the operating funds that are in operating don't earn interest.
Not the operating, but the budget money that we kind of approve. This is investment, correct?
The only investments that we do here are CDs.
Yeah, the
So-
CDs, I saw that, but
CDs, yeah. So there are no other investments other than CDs. There is a treasury. And operating.
thank you.
Was that what you were asking?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
kind of
kind of
asking for because the reserve, they have the. Find the different rules for investment, correct? You can invest in something that can get a better return versus CDs.
We have an
I
investment
mean,
policy.
other associations here do have investment policies and they do invest in other things, but here we've only ever done.
So we don't do that, okay. And thanks for educating me, but
Okay, anybody else?
I'd like to have a question just about the process, so. We know that the 2027 budget starts January 1st, but if we back that up. When does the board provide final approval for the budget, and when does it have to be locked in to meet that 1 January? Meaning, there has to be a announcement ready to budget has to be approved, so everything can be in place for one.
Yes, it's. Just give me a second. Yeah. November 17th is the deadline for board adoption, and November 22nd is the deadline for making the adopted budget available. So it's 45 days before the beginning of the fiscal year is when they have to adopt it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Paul,
I would like to get some clarification or some explanation for me, but for everybody else who is looking at things like 8.2 or 8.6% increase of reserves and so forth. And what does that really mean to the people who will be sending money in to the accounts that will cover these kinds of things? In other words, 8.2% doesn't mean anything as far as dollars concerned, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It does if you know you're talking about X amount of dollars, but I would like to try to, for the benefit of everyone, to understand how this ripples through and becomes part of their check that they stroke.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
That question?
So the answer is, in 2026, we contributed to replacement reserves, or will have contributed by the end of the year, $542,171, which was what the reserve study had recommended that we contribute. And for 2027, the new reserve study recommends that we increase that 542,171 by 8.2%. And so if we do that in 2027, we will be contributing $586,629. So we're increasing the amount that we deposit to reserves by 8.2% this year, next year over this year.
And so how does that impact my contribution to the reserves and to the funds? What is my monthly contribution now changed based on that? How does that ripple through everybody's?
We don't calculate every single line item that this is costing you this much, this is costing you that much. But on the last page of the budget, under reserve contributions, just like any other of the line items, you can see that in the last column, it tells you the percent change from the 2026 budget, the 2027 budget. So if you're asking, it's an increase of $44,458 for the year. So are you asking me how much per unit per month?
Yes.
Okay, so
basically, that's what it boils down to, is how much does it cost me as a resident?
So the difference, you mean, or the total contribution is it costing you?
Not as a percentage, but as a dollar. Well,
No, the whole amount.
we can expect that we're gonna have dues of increase by 3-4%. That's what they tend. Is it going to change to 8%? Is it gonna be 7%? Is it? How does this manifest itself in our change in dues?
Just for the replacement reserve portion?
Or the whole thing.
Well, it boils down to the whole thing, but this looks scary. I'm not sure it's as scary as it looks. I just think people look at something like that and go, I don't know what that really means when it comes down to it. Did you follow why I'm asking that question?
Well, it's not, I don't think it's scary. The increase was previously 7.9% every year, and it's gone to 8.2%.
To the reserves.
To the reserves,
Okay.
right?
And so, I'm just trying to make sure that the air is clear and that everybody knows how that number impacts them personally, because we want people to know. We want transparency on what is going on, but I don't know how to convert that into a monthly dues or HOA fee or whatever. I don't know what that really means. Should I worry about it? Should I not worry about it? As a financial organization, we want to be clear on what these kinds of things are that we're saying. I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. What I'm trying to do is make sure that we're clear about how this really impacts people when they look at it.
well, it looks to me like $3 a month.
More.
Yeah, that's 8.2 on the other hand.
Yeah, $3, actually, exactly $3. More than you contributed in twenty
But
twenty-six.
if we had had a reserve study, it would have essentially.
You still would have increased 7.9.
Negligible.
Yeah,
So in Audra's management report on. Page. Second paragraph. It's my understanding that we used to contribute $216. Every unit would.
well,
contribute
that was
$216.
your total monthly assessment.
Right, total monthly assessment.
That was, yeah, that was.
Now it's
this-
going
That's
up
to
to 240. Adding in everything, all the restaurant contributions, the reserve study, everything.
Yes,
So I think that's what makes it clear for me. So I see 216 and then now 240. So I think that's pretty cut and dry.
That includes all adjustments.
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that how?
What was that? Eligible?
I don't know which paragraph you were pointing at because I'm not seeing
Um,
seeing that here.
it's the memo before the draft budget.
It's the one called continued review of 2027 draft budget.
What page?
There's no.
Well, I tried to find the agenda or the packet online, and the packet wasn't online, so
It should be.
no, it's not, it's
Um,
only the single page is only the agenda page.
Online, on the website.
So, that's usually how I follow it is.
I also emailed it to you all.
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay,
So no one else would have had access to it except for.
I'll double check on that because I did ask for it to be uploaded Friday afternoon.
Got your email next week.
Okay.
To, PDF tag. And you can create the bottom of that.
Right,
I don't know, I'm sure it's 100 pages.
Certainly you're-
Yeah, I agree, that's what I usually do, but that doesn't include the restaurant issue that came up last week, right?
it does.
It does,
Yes. So the.
$250,000.
Yeah, so the 240 is, am I understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have included everything
Yes,
up until the 250. I mean, including. the
Including,
250.
yeah.
So that 240 is what we will all contribute, no matter what building or unit you live in. But that doesn't mean that includes what your building will increase.
Right, I'm not.
Yeah, so, I mean, $20 increase.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, let's move along. And next on the agenda is the correspondence, yeah. Several letters that have come in, I have no comment on those at this point. Does anyone else want to discuss it on the web? See, the two letters from Marine above that, the other. One to.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Fine. I see the two letters from Marina Road. Are there any others? You said several letters. I thought there was, what there? It's just two? Okay, I thought there was. I'm seeing. I have no problem. All right. Then Kathy, you're up.
All right, so currently we are running a small surplus of about $19,700. That is unfavorable to the budget by almost $2,800, but we're not too far off, so.
I mean, that looks pretty good. Wow.
Yeah, better than the Chinese.
Better than other years. Okay, anything in particular we should take note of? I didn't see anything, it looks pretty vanilla.
Yeah.
I
taking notes.
Sure.
I'm using my computer, which has your attachment. And it has pages on it,
Mhm,
but the printed copy does not.
right.
It'd be very helpful. If when you print it, those pages, it does make it easier, certainly for many.
Yes, I always do, but this time it was an oversight and I apologize for it. I didn't want to reprint and waste all this paper, so Yeah.
I thought you said that.
We do. I sent an email Friday afternoon apologizing, say that was my fault.
Oh, you don't have to talk.
Okay,
Apologies, sir.
thanks.
Okay, anything else for Kathy?
I know it's reserved, but I just am curious, and I know it's coming out of the recent reserve. But what was the $1,700 patio refurbishment? Is that the restaurant
No,
Or the-
we have the,
pool patio?
Pool
Okay,
patio.
okay, that's fine. I use a pool.
Thank you.
Building and grounds. There's anything to. There we go.
Good morning. You have the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Building and grounds report.
Our next scheduled meeting, will be September 10th. If we have business to conduct. Thank you. Carry on.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have a question. For buildings and grounds, I was not at the meeting, but I listened to the recording. Can you just clarify the elimination or the movement of the rooftop ports? I saw that was a motion going to the board.
Well, it's an idea that someone presented and it's been forwarded to the board.
So the board has to make a decision, or did they already make it?
They haven't.
Let me clarify what, it was an idea that a member representative had brought forward to the Building and Grounds Committee. To not eliminate the courts, but to move the courts to ground level. And refinish that roof with a normal type of roof. I don't know what normal is, but a different kind of roof than a concrete roof. Thinking that we could eliminate that $1.5 million expense down the road. But there would be costs incurred to obviously building the courts on the ground level and that sort of thing. So before we even bothered to research it any further and go that into depth into having that conversation, wanted the boards sort of to buy into, are you even going to consider this? Because if you're not going to consider it, we're not going to waste our time researching. And that's what the Building and Grounds Committee had suggested to the board to tell us whether you want us to research this or not. That's the question to be answered. Just research.
For the September meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Where are they gonna put it in the?
That's a great question.
Pool patio.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you. Okay, now we get to the budget. Let's see, how we're gonna do this, Waterman, you can just summarize the changes that have been made in the last vote.
Yeah, so since the first draft that you all looked at last month, we made the changes that this committee requested. And then I have listed that there was the addition of the $250,000 that the board at their special meeting last Friday had directed the Budget and Finance Committee to add to the restaurant amenity line item in the budget. So with all of the changes, that reflects an assessment increase over the 2026 budget of 11.1%. which would take the assessment from $216 a month to $240 a month. As Lynn mentioned earlier, that's an increase of $24 per unit per month. And the major changes between the draft you saw last month and the draft you've seen this month is listed here. Commercial rent revenue increased slightly. Management fee adjusted slightly based on an actual proposed contract extension that I got. Same with landscaping. We were final numbers from them over the last month. Security contract was reduced based on updated renewal pricing we got from Dunbar. The shuttle bus contract was reduced based on the board's approval of the change in service from 4 days a week to 3 days a week. So that went down. Pool maintenance contract has been adjusted based on a proposal we got from High Sierra Pools. And snow removal, you all had requested this change from 60,000 to 80,000 and to eliminate the $20,000 snow reserve, but it's a wash at the end of the day. Grounds non-contract was increased by $10,000 to make sure that we cover all of the anticipated grounds related needs since we no longer have a groundskeeper. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, the restaurant contract, we added $250,000 for that.
Okay, well, I don't know whether, let me ask you, you wanna go over this line by line? I don't really think that's necessary, but I'll do that if you like.
I just have one question. Is anybody concerned about an 11.1% increase?
No, I think everybody is.
Hello?
Really asked if anyone not, so.
Correct.
I have a question about the $250,000 for the cafeteria.
Yeah.
That'd be more than that.
I'm sorry. Well, yes. Anyway, I'm a school person, so that's why I call it cafeteria. Where did you come up with the $250,000? I mean, what was the basis?
That was-
Do you know?
That was really their best guess. The analysts had told them that the restaurant consultant had said at one point that his thoughts, although he couldn't put an exact number on it, that we would need to spend a minimum of 200,000 on a restaurant amenity if we wanted any chance at a successful restaurant. So a board member made the motion for $250,000 and it was supported unanimously. That's where that number came from.
Well, do we know what it includes?
Yeah.
I mean, what? Is that?
No, it's not broken down. At this point, it's
That's what
just,
disturbs me is there's no explanation for it. It's thrown in there at the last minute. The budget committee had no say in it. It's ready now to be voted on by the board, right? I mean, the budget as it stands.
So done deal on it.
Can
And
somebody update me, this, at the board meeting, they approved the $250,000 appropriation without a start date? Is that correct?
No, in
For
January.
the 2027.
I know, I mean, it's gonna start in January. Do we have a contract starting in January?
no, we have no
We
contract.
have nothing. We have a, we
We're
have,
gonna be paying a $15 a month subsidy.
17.
Or 17, okay. I was rounding it off. A subsidy for something that we do not have nothing on the horizon. This really disturbs me.
yeah, and you know, we have a fiduciary obligation here to the community. That is, we cannot, that's the highest standard, highest legal standard. That, which, you know, you have to be loyal and, deal fairly with all the community. And we're to vote for $250,000 appropriation. without any more details than the board approved it.
We don't have a vote in it.
Well, we have to approve the budget.
You make a recommendation.
Can I make a recommendation? I think, personally, I thought what the board did was weird, to be polite. The restaurant survey showed that probably 70% of people either didn't want to pay a subsidy or would pay up to $15 per month per unit. The board decided 17, so seems inconsistent with the restaurant survey. But putting that aside, I think what this committee, the board has the ultimate say here, but what this committee can do, and we should do, is make sure that all residents understand the costs. So right now, even within this committee, there was uncertainty as to what does all this mean bottom line? The bottom line is as the path law now, there's gonna be $11% increase, $24 per month. Residents, homeowners need to understand what that is and what provides it, so that they can at least have that information. Right now, I was at the board meeting, it wasn't an overwhelming turnout, but I just don't think people understand what the bottom line is when we write checks each month, what that increases be. So that's what this board did. I don't know if there's any ability this committee to push back on it, but we can certainly make sure that people understand what all this means for the budget when we include not just subsidy, but these other adjustments we're talking. So, and then all of the condo buildings and also the vistas, we then have to take another assessment and put it on top of that. So at what point are we gonna, people just need to voice their opinions as to whether that's okay or painful, but I don't think the information is out there. Thank you.
I don't disagree with that. I think, communicating this information is important, but how would this committee do that?
Couldn't we ask the board for details to, provide the information that we need to vote on? Who's the recipient of the subsidy? When will we start, what obligation do we have to pay that subsidy?
They're not gonna be able to answer it.
That's right. And that's,
They can't answer it.
to me, that is our biggest concern.
It's a big concern.
And, we don't get any votes on board members, but we certainly don't have to, again, we have a fiduciary responsibility. And frankly, based on my obligations to the community, without details, I can't vote. I can't vote for this project.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing, the board has a responsibility to budget appropriately for what they think they're gonna spend in 2027. And so that's what they're doing. They're saying, we think we're gonna spend $250,000 in 2027 on a restaurant and amenity. I'm sorry?
What are we getting?
We don't know yet.
Thank you.
That's an estimate. That's what a budget is.
You know,
You can't do this.
sometimes I vote for something, I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know who's gonna get the money. I don't know when they're gonna get the money. I don't know what they're gonna provide, when they're gonna provide it. And, I don't think the community is in a position to accept this $250,000 increase without any more details than that's what the board approved. I mean, right now, I'm chair of the budget committee in Riverbend. We're that, we can't, we're looking at 10%, 11% increase with this additional charge. And frankly, my HOA has almost doubled since we moved here 5 years ago. And when we moved in here, I thought it was high. And it's much higher now. And we have people, we have a community that really depends on what they have, the limited amount of money they have to spend and how they spend it. And I frankly can't say, you're spending $250,000, where I can't look at a member of the committee and say, this is what you're getting. I can't do it. And I don't think the committee should be even put in that position until there's a concrete proposal. And to throw out, I didn't see Wayne here at the meeting, but, you know, this is not just a rubber stamp committee. If it is, I would get off. I believe this committee has a purpose and we can fulfill our purpose.
Okay. When was this committee, I guess we maybe would vote to recommend the budget to the board, so that's a point where this committee recommended, not recommended.
So what is the process? So there's a motion in this packet. In the management update, it looks like based on timing and significant savings, which I commend. But if the Budget and Finance does not make a motion to recommend the BOM to approve the budget, what happens? Does the BOM say, too bad, we're approving it, or do they come back to Budget and Finance and say, what can you do?
Well, they might. I mean, this committee can make a recommendation that the board remove that line item from the budget, and then that can go forward. You can make a recommendation that the draft as it is in this packet go forward, and then it will be distributed to the community, and people will see the budget and will be able to know exactly what is included in the budget and what's not included. If you do nothing, I mean, the board still has to approve a budget before that November 17th deadline, so regardless of whether you all make a recommendation or not, eventually they'll have to make a decision.
I just wanted to make a comment on what Bob said. I'm not sure how many buildings are conducting a reserve study this year. And some buildings have not even put their numbers out, so I think it might be surprising to the residents when they see the total of the 240 plus, let's say your building decides your personal unit has to go up by $150, you know, so. And I think by the time the residents see these numbers, everything's gonna be approved, there's nothing anyone can do. So that's just my concern. You know, my concern is the same thing, how do you answer to the residents? When honestly, we don't have a say.
I think Barry put it out, I mean, or Audra put it out, we don't have to approve it. And the board of members can go ahead and vote on it without our approval. But I think we need to be standing up for the residents. That's who we serve, we're serving the residents. And with the assistance of management and the assistance, I mean, we're doing our job. And I haven't heard anybody disagree with what I've said. We're looking for something we don't know what we're getting. And the residents are going to pay for it. I'll guarantee you, the assessments are limited at. So we're looking at increase over increase. Now, the last meeting, we were looking at a 4% increase, now we're looking at 11%. So you were asking, Paul, you know, the difference, that's 7%. 7% for the, you know, and it's not even a proposal. It's just an obligation.
I'm going to stick my neck out and move that we recommend the board members that we authorize distribution of draft number 2, less $250,000 added by the board to the members for this review and comment.
Okay, we have a motion. I can see the committee does not have any interest in going over this in detail, so we can, dispense with that part of it. We have a second, to Virginia's mind, second. Okay, now, let's discuss this further. So it would be up to the board then to go, they could add that 250 back and do whatever they want.
Okay, but the residents too. Pardon? They have an obligation to also respond to the residents, and I think the residents need to speak it out. They can't, they can't sit by and wait for this to happen, but we certainly don't have to push it along. And I concur with the motion, and it's been made and seconded. I think it's exactly what, the appropriate response we need to give.
I thought that the management team did a great job in making adjustments. We actually came up with about $5,000 less than what we had
Yeah. I-
talked about in the
I agree with that.
last month. So I think they'd be commended for that. And when I say the $15 is what I was talking about, was the difference between, the increase would have been $9 per month. In the draft, in the first draft to us, but in the second draft was $24, so that was the 15, that's the difference that I'm talking about there. If you take out the 5,000 that we saved. So I think that we need to let everyone know, because this was just, to me, it was completely just out of the blue. Maybe I haven't been following the restaurant discussions that closely, I don't know, but this was not anything I expected. And I thought we and management did a great job in presenting a budget that had been looked at very closely. None of us like increases. I know in Magnolia's another $15, $17 or whatever a month on a month. You say, well, that's not very much per month, but when you add it to what we're already increasing, it really hurts for something that I don't feel is necessary at this time.
Okay, who else wants to speak?
Without discussing the merits of
Speaking to the
hello, can you hear me now? Okay. Without discussing the merits of like approval a restaurant, the details on like how we're gonna manage that financially and the risks that involve on that. And also, we need to have details to approve on a budget, how we're gonna face that risk as a community, as a finance business. Right, another thing that I'm not, maybe I do not know, maybe somebody else know can clarify, is why we need to subsidize a business that probably will make profit on that. And if this profit will be shared with the community, it's like is a business that we invite for. And we subsidize them, I'm not understanding that part, is there anybody else like that?
good ball. Oh, yes.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead, your first time,
Okay, my feeling is that the appropriate way for the board to proceed on this is to first have a live contract that is before the board, for a particular restaurant, with a particular operating plan. And then to come before the community with a special assessment request, if appropriate, for whatever needs to be financed. That special assessment could happen next year, if that's when all these details are in place, or it could happen before November 17th. And the board could make an adjustment to the budget at that point. But in any case, we would have those details that Bob has so carefully laid out that we ought to have before we make any kind of decision about a general subsidy from the membership. That's my thoughts.
Okay. Well,
I went to the meeting on Friday and I feel like what we've got here is a chicken and egg situation. And I also think we got the cart before the horse, which is what I'm hearing here.
Lots of metaphor.
And I'm thinking while I'm talking about the next one, but I don't know what it is. The chicken and egg problem is that if we want a restaurant, which we do, a lot of people do, we need to have something to bring to the vendor that we want to talk to. And I think that the whole point of this $17 a month, $250 is to have something in our back pocket to be able to say, we can do this to help you succeed here. The problem that I think is a real thing is that nobody can make a profit here doing that kind of a business. It's just, and the consultant kind of said it, it's kind of impossible for a vendor to come in here, do a restaurant to satisfy the majority of the people and also make a profit. And the people that we are inviting here to do that are entrepreneurs, business people, and they don't do anything unless they make a profit. Now, we're trying to limit the amount of profit that we let them have, because there's only a certain amount that they can have, and we've got a closed community, and we can't let anybody else come in and participate and eat that food. So we limited it there, and then we want to be able to get somebody to come in here and do the job right for us. And it's gonna take money out of our pocket as residents to maintain that. That's a fact that some people don't want to face. But this $250 is, in my mind, that thing that we are saying, we have to agree to it, but we are willing to give that vendor this amount of money so that they can see that light at the end of the tunnel. Because if they don't have that money, I don't think that they can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I wouldn't do it as a business person. I don't think anybody would. You can't lose money every day and expect to make a profit. So the chicken and the egg problem is that we don't have anybody to talk to right now. That's a fact. And I don't think we can get anybody to the table to talk to us. We've already kind of proved that in a month and a half ago. Until we have something that we can really give them, okay, or suggest that we can give them. And I don't know if $250 in this situation is enough or not. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
What's a few zeros?
250, yeah, 1,000 here, a million, pretty soon you're talking about real money. But without that money, I don't think that we can get anybody to be. Now, how do we solve, I think that we have a fiduciary responsibility to say, this makes no sense, we need more information. But I don't have, personally, a lot of problem with saying, well, then let's set money aside so that we can give our negotiators something to talk about. I think that's a good idea. If we can't do that, I don't think they can get anybody to come and talk to them.
That's what my reading was from that meeting on Friday as well. I mean, they don't believe they can negotiate without some notion of what the community is going to develop. And 250 was just a really good guess, I think, and I hadn't expected that. My thought was the board would probably kick it back to this committee to come up with a number. But they didn't do it. It's okay with me. I don't know how we come up with a number anyway. But here we are.
And I would agree with what everyone's saying, but the bottom line here is, let's assume everybody, I think, wants a restaurant. It's just a question of how much people are willing. So let's assume it's gonna be minimum 250,000, could be more, could be less. The question still remains is the homeowners have to understand what that means for their monthly, the check they're gonna write every month. And I don't think anyone understands that. We are talking about, again, an increase to $240 per month, all things considered. That's really what needs to be addressed. And if people say, okay, we understand it's gonna cost that $17 a month will be for a restaurant, then that's fine, but so far people are, so first of all, surprised, so they need to understand what the math is. We can't overlook that. And again, layering on top of that, the assessments for the buildings and this is, let people understand what that means regardless of what deal we make with the restaurant, because again, the survey showed that I think it was 45% didn't want to pay anything. Another 186 people said we'll pay up to $115 per month. So by my math, you're well north of 50%. The respondents who did not want to pay more than 15, the proposal was at 7. The only thing I would add is, per the information that Audra and staff put out, the Vistas did, the Lands and Woods did receive proposals. Now we're talking in the high end full service that looked at a cost of about $1 million per year. Who knows what the cost would be, but if it's 250,000, we're looking at an 11%. So that's on the table. We need to assume that that's going to go into effect, whether as a committee you would support that or not.
Okay, let's, Victoria,
The elephant in the room to me is that the community wants a restaurant like we've always had. But our surroundings have changed over the 26, 27 years this community's been here. When the community was formed, there was nothing outside our gates. So the restaurant was a lovely addition and necessary. It is no longer necessary. You can go to 20 restaurants within a mile of here. So everything has changed. And are you going to be able to get a restaurateur to come in here with the new dynamics in the community? I'm not sure you are. And if you are, you're going to pay mightily for it. Are we willing to do that? Is that how we want to spend our money? My answer personally is no.
I mean, I just don't want, before Lynn has her say, point out that evidently, the proffers for this development require a restaurant. That seems to have come up recently.
That's being verified. I don't know that for fact. That is required. That's what an email says, but I've not seen any proffers that
I haven't seen,
establish that.
the actual document or whatever it is.
Right. I can't believe that would be accurate. I mean,
That was a strong one for sure.
yeah.
Well, anyway, okay, Lynn, sorry.
Thank you, Barry. I just wanted to, Bob Higgins just reminded me of something, and I can't remember where I read it. But it goes in line with, we can have a restaurant. I don't know if it was in Audra's communications or the consultant's summary, but we can have a full service restaurant for $1.5 million at $79 a month subsidy. That is possible, but is it needed? And are people willing to pay that? You know, the majority of the people who want a restaurant. I mean, people are still balking at the $5 subsidy from 10 years ago, you know, wondering. 10 years from now, people are still paying that $250,000 that was inserted into the budget. And people are gonna ask 10 years from now, can I get my $250,000 back? You can't get your $5 back, and once that $250 is in the budget, it's there. But if you want a restaurant, contribute $79 a month. It's really that simple. You know, and there's a lot of self-service things we can do, but, you know, and I'm not gonna get into the weeds of this, but if we go self-service, that's more work on management. you know. We have to hire our own manager, you know, do all that. Did it work out when we had our own bus driver? I wasn't here.
No. That's what we do.
Okay, let's, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion of this? If not, Virginia, would you repeat your motion? If you can.
I'm looking for the, move to recommend that the board of members authorize distribution of draft number 2 of the proposed 2027 LWDA budget less 250,000 for the restaurant. And it will be presented to the members and owners for review and comment.
Okay,
Could we add the word subsidy, restaurant subsidy?
well, you asked Virginia.
Was that okay?
Yeah, that's what, to me, that's what it actually is,
Yes.
restaurant subsidy.
Okay. Well, let's have a vote then. All those in favor of the motion on the floor as amended?
None. Is that a vote?
I think it's unanimous.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you had your hand up, I'm sorry. Didn't count. That was another thing, it was, no, that's okay, I got it. But yes, you knew.
Needs to be announced, now, people go as said. Everything, they're just gonna plug it back in, but,
But then they're the ones that have to take the stand in front of the
oh, yeah.
president.
That's, yes, indeed, that's exactly right.
That was this option.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm through the budget. Unless it comes back there at some point, I doubt very much. So let's move on to the new business. Ordering the copy of the machine.
Yeah, the copier lease is up in October. And so I had in the packet my analysis and the proposals from the 3 different companies. But unfortunately, they came back to me a couple days ago, and while they being DLL Business Systems, they had made an error in their proposal. So the proposal that you see in the packet from DLL Business Systems for Lexmark machine is not correct. We passed out a revised sheet here today, and I also emailed it to you all the other day. So I don't know that that changes my recommendation, but I still wanted to do a little bit more research on it, because Potomac Business Solutions may be able to get me the Lexmark machine or something similar to it, not necessarily the Xerox. So I had, if you want, we can either delay this a month, or I also wrote up a draft motion if you all want to consider that the Budget and Finance Committee recommend that management be authorized to select and enter into a 60-month lease for a copier based on our final evaluation of pricing, functionality, service, and value, provided that the selected options remain within the approved budget for copier lease expenses. And in either case, in any case, they would be within the budget because it's less than we're paying now.
So, there really are 2 choices.
Yes.
I don't see any reason we should just allow Slugger to make that choice. Because,
I have a question for Audra. I'm totally confused.
Okay.
Because the Xerox itemizes the personal property tax. The Xerox proposal itemizes the monthly personal property tax as $13.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you telling me that Xerox would pay $13 to the state for the personal property tax of the county, whoever it is, county, I guess? But Lexmark is paying 50?
No, it's $30
Why did they go up from 324 to 391?
because they made a mistake in their
Well,
proposal.
I thought the mistake was leaving out.
No, that was not the mistake. It didn't have anything to do with personal property. I don't know. I don't know what the mistake was. But the $13 is $13 a month, so. Lexmark included it in their proposal. It's probably somewhere around there between $13 and $18 a month is what they're estimating.
But it was not the basis of the mistake.
No, it was not.
I. You know, when you add 2 and 2 to get 5,
Yeah.
add something.
I mean, the other option is what we do now is we pay personal property taxes ourselves. We don't roll it into the lease.
What's the sense for that? It's a lease.
It's a lease.
Well, it's not our property, so it's their
We
property.
still have to pay it.
They're.
Pass it on.
So like,
As a village.
we at least a car. Good one thing. First problem. Anyway, we can
Yeah.
yeah.
If you lease it.
No, I just pay the lease payment. I don't pay the physical problem. I just pay the lease payment through the lessor. That's all.
It would be good at some time, please. Any other discussion on this? I'd like to move Audra's revised motion.
Mhm.
Which one?
You want me to read it again?
Yeah, read it, yeah.
To move that the Budget and Finance Committee recommend that management be authorized to select and enter into a 60-month lease for a copier based on management's final evaluation of pricing, functionality, service, and overall value, provided that the selected copier remains within the approved budget for copier lease expenses.
Okay, I've moved that. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
and,
Good. Is it okay that I?
Yes.
Okay.
and the final renewals for financial management, security, and landscaping service contracts.
Okay, well, I see everybody's read through the memo. The financial management services, security services, and landscape services are, those contracts, all three of them are up for renewal this year or in 2027. So we currently have Barkin Management for financial management, Dunbar for security, and Yellowstone for landscaping. Our policy resolution number 33 that was revised recently by the board says that the board can authorize the extension of renewal of existing contracts for periods of up to 5 years when vendor performance has been satisfactory and pricing remains competitive, provided management confirms that current rates are within market range. And so I don't think that we necessarily need to go through the formal competitive bidding process. Just because these contracts are coming up for renewal. I think it would be more prudent to go ahead and have us confirm that the pricings for these renewal contracts are competitive. And we're in the process of doing that. And I would still come back to the board for final approval on any of these contracts. And the proposed motion for the committee to consider is that the Budget and Finance Committee recommend the board of members authorize management to negotiate proposed renewals or extensions of existing financial management, security, and landscape services pursuant to Section 8 of Policy Resolution 33 without undertaking a formal competitive bidding process, provided that management determines that vendor performance has been satisfactory and confirms that proposed rates are within the current market range, with the final negotiated agreements to be presented to the board members for approval.
Okay,
And we have included what we anticipate these contracts to be in the 2027 draft budget.
yes, see that, and in several cases that are less
Yes.
than what we're probably paying. And I kind of like that. All right,
We need to say.
Well,
it hasn't been moved. It sounded like-
I just read it. But-
She read it.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay.
Well, somebody has to make the motion. I can't make it.
Are you willing?
Victoria and Robert.
I'll recommend.
Okay,
She did. Victoria's one and Robert.
let's not fight over it. Okay.
We're gonna get the recorder out.
So I'd just like to ask, point of personal information. Are these multi-year contracts that we might revise annually, or are these annual contracts, or is it a mix?
They're multi-year contracts.
Okay, so they're in effect over 2027. Without change?
No, they expire in 2026,
They
December
expire.
2026.
They're multi-year, but they expire this year.
Right,
So all of them need to be formally renewed
yes,
or re-bid,
right.
whatever you want to call
Mhm.
it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, now we move to, open forum. Anyone in the audience wish to say anything? Yes. Please identify yourself.
Bob McGraw, with Riverview. And just want to throw out one point regarding the discussion of the restaurant and that $250,000. And that is that what happened during the prior year, or during this year, is when the board was considering hiring a restaurant, and that we would have to have this payments to them in some way, shape, or form. And the point was that if we didn't have any money in the budget for that. So what it would have happened was, if we, let's say, 6 months ago, came up with a restaurant, regardless of what it was, the board, and therefore you, would have been bound to try to correct the budget, where that would have been a significant deficit in the budget. And I thought that that's what the board was trying to suggest last week, was that you put aside that we request money in the future, beginning January, to set aside some money for that obligation that we might feel that we need to pay. And that's what it is. And now what you could do is earmark that, say, this is for the restaurant. And if you, if they didn't spend it, great. You know, we didn't spend it. Now, we can take off that earmark and just put it to regular, funds that you needed in the future. But the whole point is that what's gonna be the situation, say in January or February, if we do have a viable consideration for some type of facility to come in here. You know, the board will be faced with, and then I'll turn it around to you to ask, come up with money. So that's just a thought. It's a little bit different than I thought the way the discussion was going before, because I don't think that point was made of why they wanted the 250 in there again. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
To go up.
Yes, you do.
Go up, County.
That would be nice.
My name is Carmen Ross. I'm from Potomac Ridge. I want to congratulate all of you for the clear thinking. You've given this a very fine analysis of what options we have. And I was a board member for 5 years of the Rotunda, where we had a restaurant, and for 20 years, finally we gave up because they all failed. Now, it is the same, the problem here. It's absolutely right. No restaurant will come here. They're not gonna make a profit. Now, is this a luxury now for us to have a restaurant? Given the fact that the cost of living has gone so high, that our pensions are kind of based, haven't gone up that high. Will we be able to afford to live here? If our condo fees just become so exorbitant? And of course, people want a restaurant, but there may be other alternatives. I did visit the restaurant that was suggested, which is I call it it's the, it's a different type of restaurant. One that goes along with the future. And they're gonna try it out. The board is gonna try that restaurant out. There would be minimum expenditures that you wouldn't have to have servers or thing, because I don't know how they do it, but there are like 50 or 60 restaurants that will provide the food. Don't ask me how that's done, whether they're air packed or what there is. I did have something there, and it was plentiful what I got, too much. But the ambiance wasn't quite what I'd like it. There was nobody around. Everybody was more or less pickup type of thing. But that may suit some people. We may not be able to have something more extravagant, but something, we may have to be, if we want a restaurant, we may have to do something simpler. And like Michael Levitt recommended, in-house type of thing, and we hire our own, chef or whatever. This takes a lot of thought. A lot of thought and planning. Now, when you put aside $250,000, not knowing really whether we need that much or less or even more. But once it goes on the budget and on our condo fees, it never goes away. So, I think we need to think of the people. We need to think of our, what we can really afford. So I think before we jump, we need to give this more thought, more analysis, and see what other communities have done. And thank you very much, but you've done a really good job today.
Oh, thanks for the compliment. Appreciate it. Now, anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Make that motion. We have a second.